Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we move on to the next chapter of our curriculum. So we'll study irregular verbs and Naqisun, which is a subgroup of muttalun. So if you remember, muttalun is when one of the root letters is a wa or a ya, and Naqis is a subgroup of muttalun. So in Naqis or Naqisun is when the third root letter is a wa or ya. So when the third root letter is called Naqis wa, and when it's the third root letter is ya, it's called a Naqis ya. So all the families and forms are affected in Naqis. So in big families, both the Naqis wa and the Naqis ya behave in the same way. So the general rules is the past tense ends with an alif maksura. The present tense ends in a ya, except family 5, which is the tafa'ala, yatafa'alu family, and except family 6, which is tafa'ala, yatafa'alu, they end with alif maksura in the present tense. And the isme fa'il ends with a kasratain, and the isme maf'ul ends with the alif maksura fatatain. And some family specific rules. So the masdar in each case follows a different pattern. So the families for 3, which is fa'ala, yufa'ilu, and the fourth family afala, yufilu, the seventh family infala'a, yanfa'ilu, the eighth family ifta'ala, yafta'ilu, and the 10th family istafala, yastafilu. The masdar ends with a alif hamza, and in the family 2, which is fa'ala, yufa'ilu, and second masdar in family 3, which is fa'ala yufa'ilu. If you remember, the family 3 has 2 masdars. So in family 2 and the second masdar in family 3, the masdar ends in ta marbuta. And in families 5, tafa'ala yatafa'alu, and the 6th family tafa'ala yatafa'alu, it ends with ya fatatain. So if you just go through an example. So here's family 2. If you remember, it's fa'ala yufa'ilu. So the third root letter is made a vowel. So the first root letter will be fa, the second root letter is ain, and now the third root letter is wa u ya. So the past tense will be fa'a. So you can see there's an alif maksura there. The present tense is yufa'i. So you can see the ya in the present tense with the sukoon is highlighted yellow. And the masdar is taf'iyatan. So you can see the ta marbuta. The ism fa'il is mufa'in. So if you notice, the last letter, the ain, takes a kasratain, which is actually the second root letter. Mufa'in takes a kasratain. The reason why is because what they do is, because the ya at the end has a sukoon, it just gets dropped. And because the ism fa'il is an ism, you make it heavy. So it becomes mufa'in. The passive past tense is fu'iya. So you notice that the ya comes back in the passive past tense. And the passive present tense is yufa'a. And you notice that it has a alif maksura on it in the passive present tense at the end. And all of the harakat at the top as per usual. And then the masdar is taf'iyatan. And the ism maf'ul is mufa'an. So you can see that there's an alif maksura with a fatatain, so mufa'an. So again, it's similar to the passive present tense. You can just change the ya to a meme, and then it takes a fatatain because it has to be heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism. And the command form is fa'i. And the way it's derived is, if we look at the present tense, yufa'i, we take the anta version, which means you masculine, will be tufa'i. And now normally when we want to make it into the lightest version, normally the last letter has a dhamma on it, and then we give that dhamma, we turn that dhamma into a sukoon. But because the last letter here, the ya, already has a sukoon on it, in order to make it lightest, you simply drop the ya. So you just get rid of it. And so you're left with tufa'i, and then we drop the ta at the start, then you're left with fa'i. And because the new first letter fa has a fatha on it, we don't need an alif. We don't need to add an alif. So you're just left with fa'i. And that's why it's highlighted in yellow. And again, the forbidding form is la tufa'i. So if you look at the present tense, yufa'i, we take the anta version, which is tufa'i. And in order to make this in the lightest version, because it has the last letter has a sukoon already at the end, then we simply just drop it. We get rid of it, so it's tufa'i, and then you put the lam in front of it, becomes la tufa'i, which is the forbidding form, and the zarf is the same as the ism maf'ul mufa'an. And this I explained as we went along. An example of family 2, the fa'ala yufa'ilu family, using 3 root letters, the zal, the qaf, and the ya. So the past tense will be zakka, and before is fa'a, and you can see the alif maksura. The third root letter ya has been turned into alif maksura, so he or it purified. And the present tense fi'l is yuzakki, so you can see that the last letter is a ya, the ya's come back with a sukoon. He is being purified, and the masdar is tazkiyatan, to purify, and ism fa'il is muzakkin, the one who is purifying. So what we do, if you look at the present tense, we change the ya into a meme, muzakkin, and then you drop the ya, and because the ism fa'il is a ism, you make it heavy, so it's muzakkin. And the passive past tense is zukkiya, so you can see how the ya has come back compared to the past tense, which has a alif maksura. And the passive present tense is yuzakka, and you can see the third root letter ya has become an alif maksura, and all the root letters all the harakat at the top, as per usual with the passive present. He is being purified, and masdar is tazkiyatan, to purify, and ism maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, or the thing which is purified, is muzakkan. And you can see if you compare that to the passive present tense, the ya is turned to a meme, and then the ism maf'ul, because the ism is made heavy, muzakkan. And the command form is zakki, so you male purify. So if you remember, the commanding form and the forbidding form in these charts refer to the anta, you masculine version. So zakki, so if you look at the present tense, is you zakki. So you take the anta version to zakki. If you want to make it lighter, because the last letter ya already has a sukoon, we just simply drop it to make it into the lightest form. So it becomes to zakki. And then we drop the ta at the start, and we're left with zakki. And because the new first letter zal has a fatha on it, we don't need to add an extra alif, so it's just zakki, and the you, which means you may purify. The forbidding form is la tuzakki, so you may don't purify. So if we look at the present tense, yuzakki, take the anta version, tuzakki, make it into the lightest version. The last letter already has a sukoon, the ya, so we simply drop it to turn it into the lightest version, so it's tuzakki, and then add a lam at the start, so it becomes la tuzakki, you male, don't purify. And the time and place of purifying, which is the zarf, is the same as the ism maf'ul, which is muzakkan. So if we look at family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, we'll use the 3 root letters. The first will be fa, the second will be ain, and the third root letter will be wa or ya. So the past tense is fa'a, so you can see the alif maksura in the past tense. The present tense is yufa'i, so you can see how the ya at the end has a sukoon on it. The masdar is fi'a'an, and the other masdar will be mufa'atan, and the ism fa'il is mufa'in. And again, there's a connection between the present tense and the ism fa'il. Just change the ya to a meme, then we drop the ya at the end, and because the ism fa'il is an ism, make it heavy, mufa'in. And the passive past tense is fu'iya. The wa and the sukoon is added because in the normal past tense, because of the alif that's attached to the fa, that stretches it, so that becomes wa with a sukoon in the passive past tense, so it's fu'iya, and you can see that the ya is added at the end, so it's not alif maksura, it's a ya. And the passive present tense is yufa'a, and it's got alif maksura at the end, which is unlike the normal present tense, which has a ya, and all harakat at the top. And the masdar is fiya'an, and mufa'atan, and the ism maf'ul is mufa'an, so similar to the passive present tense. You just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism, and the commanding form is fa'i. So if we look at the present tense, you fa'i, so take the anta version to fa'i, and because when you want to make it into the lightest version, because the last letter already has a sukoon on it, we simply drop it, so it's to fa'i, and then we drop the ta at the start, so you're left with fa'i, which is that command form. And the forbidding form is la tu fa'i. So again, present tense, take the anta version to fa'i and make it into lightest. The last letter ya already has a sukoon, so we simply drop it to fa'i, and then you add the lam at the start, la tu fa'i, and the zarf is the same as the ism maf'ul, the place and time of the action, mufa'an. The example for family 3, the fa'ala yufa'ilu, using 3 root letters lam, qaf and ya, which means to meet. So the past tense is laqa, and you can see the alif maksura in the past tense, which means he met, and the present tense is yulaqi, he is meeting. So you can see the last letter ya, the third root letter ya has come back with a sukoon. The masdar is liqa'an and mulaqatan, to meet, and ism fa'il is mulaqin, the one who is meeting. And again, there's a connection between the ism fa'il and the present tense. Change the ya to a meme, we drop the ya at the end, and then make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism, so mulaqin. The passive past tense is luqiya, and again you notice the wa and the sukoon is added because of in the past tense you have the alif, so that is transformed to the wa with a sukoon, so luqiya, and you can see the ya has come back in the passive past. And in the passive present tense is yulaqa, he is being met, and you notice that all the harakat at the top as per usual with the passive present. Also the last letter is a alif maksura, so unlike the present tense which has a ya at the end. And the masdar is liqa'an and mulaqatan, to meet, and ism maf'ul is the one or thing which is met, mulaqan. It is similar to the passive present tense, just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism, and the command is laqi, so you may or meet. So if we take a look at the present tense, you laqi, took the anta version to laqi, make it lightest because the last letter ya already has a sukoon on it, just drop it, so it's to laqi, and then we drop the ta at the start, you're left with laqi. As the new first letter lam already has a fatha on it, we don't need to add an alif, we only add an alif when it has a sukoon on it. So you're left with laqi, which means you may meet, and forbidding formula la tu laqi, you may don't meet. So take a look at the present tense, yulaqi, take the anta version to laqi, make it lightest, the last letter ya with a sukoon, just simply drop it, so it's to laqi, and then add the lam at the start, la tu laqi, you may don't meet. And the zarf, the time and place of meeting, is the same as the ism maf'ul, which is as per usual with these families, mulaqan. So if we look at family 4, fa'ala, af'ala yufilu. Move on to family 4, that's af'ala yufilu family. So we'll make the first root letter fa, the second root letter ain, and the last third root letter wa or ya. So in the past tense is af'a, so you can see the alif maksura. The present tense is yuf'i, and you can see how the last letter becomes a ya with a sukoon, and the masdar is if'a'an, so you can see the alif with the hamza. Ism fa'il is a dua muf'in, so you can see from the present tense of the ism fa'il, just change the ya to a meme, drop the ya and then make it heavy, so it's muf'in because the ism fa'il is an ism. The passive past tense is uf'iya, so you can see the ya has come back in the passive past tense, and the passive present tense is yuf'a, so the alif maksura is in the passive present tense, unlike the present tense which has the ya with the sukoon. So yuf'a and all the harakat at the top, and the masdar is if'a'an, and the ism maf'ul is a muf'an. If you look at the passive present tense, just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism, and the command form is af'i. So if you look at the present tense, which is yuf'i, we take the anta version tuf'i, we'll make it lighter because the ya at the end has a sukoon, so we just drop it, so it's tuf'i. Then we drop the ta, and because the new first letter has the fa has a sukoon, so we need to add something. But because this is family 4, in the commanding form we add a alif hamza with a fatah on it, so it's af'i. And the forbidding form is la tuf'i. So again, take the present tense, take the anta version tuf'i, make it lighter, drop the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then add the lam at the start, la tuf'i. And the zarf is a place and time of action. Mufan is the same as the ism maf'ul. So an example of family 4, the afala yufidu family. So we will use the 3 root letters, the noon, the jim, and the wa, which means to save. And if you remember, in family 4, whenever we insert 3 root letters, the meaning typically becomes that the action is directed to someone else. So in this case, this would mean he saved, meaning he saved someone else. So the past tense is anja, he saved. And you can see there's alif maksura at the end in the past tense, and the present tense is yunji, so the last letter takes a ya with the sukoon, he is saving, and mustard in ja'an, so you can see the alif with the hamza at the end, and ism fa'il is a munjin, the one who is saving. And from the present tense, the ism fa'il, just change the ya to a meme and drop the ya at the end, and then make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism, so munjin. And the passive present tense is unjiya, so you can see the alif maksura from the past tense has been changed to a ya with a fatah in the passive version, so unjiya, he was saved. And the passive present tense is yunja. So compared to the present tense, which has a ya and a sukoon at the end, the passive present has a alif maksura and all the harakata at the top. Masters in ja'an, to save, and ism maf'ul is munjan, the one who is saved. And to switch between the passive present to the ism maf'ul, change the ya to a meme and then make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism. And the command is anji, so you may or save. So if you look at the present tense, yunji, take the anta version tunji, make it lightest. Because the ya at the end has a sukoon, we simply just drop it, so it's tunji, and then we drop the ta. Because the new first letter noon has a sukoon on it, then we have to add an extra letter. But because this is family 4, we add the alif hamza, not just alif, with a fatah on it, so it's anji, so you may or save. And the forbidding form is la tunji. So look at the present tense, yunji, take the anta version tunji, make it lightest, we drop the ya at the end because the ya has a sukoon, so therefore we just drop it to make it lightest, so tunji, and then add a la at the start, so la tunji, you may or don't save. And the zarf, the place and time of saving, is munjan, the same as the ism maf'ul. So if we look at family 5, which is tafa'ala yatafa'alu, the third root letter in this case will make a wa or ya. So the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. So the past tense, so you notice with this family, the ta is an extra letter that's been added. If you remember when we did family 5, the past tense is tafa'a, and you can see the alif maksura as per usual with the past tense, and the present tense is yatafa'a. And in this case, if you remember the exception, family 5 is one of the exceptions, that in the present tense usually we see the ya with a sukoon, but we don't in family 5. We see an alif maksura at the end, yatafa'a, and the mustard is tafa'iyan. And you can see the ya has actually come back, and the mustard at the end. Ism fa'il is mutafa'in. So what we've done is, if you look at the present tense and switch to the ism fa'il, the present tense we change the ya to a meme and add a dhamma to it, because family 5, it's only family 2, 3 and 4 that the present tense ya has a dhamma. So 5 and onwards, the ya will have in the present tense will have a fatah. So change the ya with a fatah from the present tense to a meme with a dhamma, and then we drop the ya, the alif maksura at the end, and then make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism, so it's mutafa. And also we make it heavy with a kasratain. So if you remember, it's always in these naqis, the ism fa'il will always have a kasratain, not a fatatain, so it's mutafa in. And one of the ways to remember it is that the ism fa'il usually makes a R, E or U, E sound. And so in this case, the present tense to the ism fa'il, so you change the ya to a meme with a dhamma, drop the ya, and then the second rulia ain has a fatha with a shadda. Then we'll make that a kasra tain, because ism fa'il is, and isms we make it heavy. So the passive past tense is to fu'iya, so you can see the ya has come back, and the passive present tense yutafa'a. So here it remains with the alif maksura, which is typical with the passive present tense, alif maksura at the end and all the harakat at the top. And the masdar is tafa'iyan, and the ism maf'ul is mutafa'an. So it's similar to the passive present, just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism, and the commanding form is tafa'a. So if we look at the present tense, you have yatafa'a, then we take the anta version, would be tatafa'a, then we'll make it lightest. And if you remember, when the last letter we said has a sukoon, we simply drop it. And that's the same when it comes to an alif maksura. So even though it doesn't have a sukoon or any harakat, we just simply drop it to make it lightest. So it'd be tatafa'a, and then we drop the first ta, and we're left with tafa'a. We don't need to add an extra alif because the new first letter ta has a fatha on it. So we're just left with tafa'a, which is the command form, and the anta, you masculine command form, and the forbidding form is la tatafa'a. So if you look at the present tense, yatafa'a, we take the anta version tatafa'a, we make it lightest by dropping the alif maksura at the end, so you're left with tatafa'a. Then we add the lam at the start, la tatafa'a. It's the forbidding form. And the zarf, the place and time of acting, is the same as ism maf'ul, mutafa'an. And this is what we explained as we went along. So use an example for family 5, tafa'ala, yatafa'alu, and we'll use the 3 root letters mim, noon and ya, which means to wish. So the past tense is tamanna, he wished, and you can see there's alif maksura at the end, and the present tense is ya tamanna. And remember with family 5, the past and the present tense have a alif maksura at the end, so he is wishing. Masdar tamanniyan, to wish, and ism fa'il is mutamannin, the one who is wishing. So if you want to go from present tense to ism fa'il, change the ya to a meme, give it a dhamma, and we drop the alif maksura at the end. And with ism fa'il in naqis, it always takes a kasratain, so 2 kasras at the 2 kasras, so as to mutamannin. And the passive past tense is tumunniya. You can see that the ya has come back in the passive past, and the passive present tense yutamanna, and that still has the alif maksura as per usual and all the harakat at the top. And the masdar tamanniyan, to wish, and ism maf'ul, the thing that's acting on, is mutamannan, the thing which is wished for. And there's a connection between the passive present and the ism maf'ul. The ya is turned into a meme, and the ism maf'ul is an ism, so we make it heavy. And the commanding form is tamanna, you may or wish. So if we take a look at the present tense, it's yatamanna, so we take the anta version tatamanna, so we'll make it lightest, and because there's an alif maksura at the end, we just take that off. So then you have tatamanna, then we drop the first ta, and as the new first letter, the ta has a fatha on it, we don't need to add an alif, so you're left with tamanna, which is tamanna, you may wish. And forbidding form is la tatamanna. So again, the present tense, yatamanna, we take the anta version tatamanna, we turn it into the lightest version, so we drop the alif maksura at the end, and you're left with tatamanna. Then you add a lam at the front, so it's la tatamanna, you may or don't wish. And then the zarf is the same as the ism maf'ul, mutamannan, the time and place of wishing. And then family 6, which is tafa'ala, yatafa'alu, and then you notice with family 6, if you remember, there's an extra ta and an alif as well, which is attached to the first root letter. So in this case, the first root letter for this table is fa, the second root letter is ain, and the third root letter can be wa or ya. So the past tense is tafa'a, so you know it's alif maksura, and the present tense is yatafa'a, And again, if you remember with family 5 and 6, in the present tense is an alif maksura at the end, not a ya with a sukoon. And the masdar is tafa'iyan. And you can see the ya has come back in the masdar at the end, and ism fa'il, the dua is mutafa'in. And again, you just from the present tense to the ism fa'il, just change the ya to a meme. We drop the ya, and then the ism fa'il always has a kasratain, so it's mutafa'in. And the passive past tense is tufu'iya. And you can see that from the past tense, the alif, that's on the first root letter fa, has become a wa with the sukoon in the passive version. So the passive past tense is tufu'iya, and the ya has come back at the end as well. And the passive present tense is tafa'a, and it has an alif maksura at the end, which is as per usual with the passive present, and all the harakat at the top. And the masdar is tafa'iyan, and the ism maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, is mutafa'an. So it's similar to the passive present, just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism. And the command form is tafa'a. And if you look at the present tense, yatafa'a, then we take the anta version, you masculine, it becomes tafa'a. We make it lightest, and because in that alif maksura at the end we just drop it, so it's tafa'a. Then we drop the first ta, and then you're left with tafa'a. So we don't need to add an extra alif or anything like that, because the new first letter, the ta, has a fatha on it, it doesn't have a sukoon, so it's tafa'a. That's the command form, and the forbidding form is la tatafa'a. So if you look at the present tense, yatafa'a, we take the anta version, tatafa'a, we make it lightest by dropping the alif maksura at the end, so you're left with tatafa'a. Then we add a lam at the front, la tatafa'a, forbidding form, and the zarf mutafa'an is the same as the ism maf'ul, which is typical for the big families. And this is what I explained. So an example of family 6, tafa'ala, yatafa'alu, and we use the three root letters jim, fa and wa, which means to withdraw. So the past tense is tajafa, so he withdrew, so you can see the alif maksura in the past tense, which is typical for a naqis. And the present tense, yatajafa, he is withdrawing, and again the alif maksura in the present tense. Usually that's only noticed in family 5 and 6, but otherwise in the other families, the big families, you have a ya with a sukoon at the end in the present tense. And the masdar is tajafiyan, to withdraw, and ism fa'il is mutajafin, the one who is withdrawing. So if you compare that to the present tense, the ya is turned into meme with a dhamma, and then the alif maksura at the end has been dropped, and the kasratain is always added to the ism fa'il in the naqis, so it's mutajafin. And the passive past tense is tujufiya, so again the alif from the past tense has become a wa with a sukoon with the passive past, which is typical, so tujufiya, and the ya has returned. And the passive present tense yutajafa, and as per usual the alif maksura is at the end and all the harakata at the top. And the masdar is tajafiyan, to withdraw, and ism maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, mutajafan, the one who is withdrawn, or the thing that's withdrawn, mutajafan. And there's a connection between the passive present and the ism maf'ul. So from the passive present, the ya, change it to a meme, and then make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is an ism. And then the command form is tajafa. If you look at the present tense, yatajafa, then you just take the anta version, so you masculine tatajafa, then make it lightest, and because it has an alif maksura at the end, to make it lightest you drop the alif maksura, then you're left with tatajafa, then you drop the first ta, and you're left with tajafa, so you don't need to add an alif. Tajafa, you may withdraw, and forbidding form is la tatajafa, so you may don't withdraw. So if you look at the present tense, yatajafa, take the anta version, tatajafa, make it lightest by dropping the alif maksura at the end, and then add the lam at the front, so la tatajafa, so you may don't withdraw. And the zarf, the time and place of withdrawing, mutajafan, is the same as the ism maf'ul as per usual with the big families. So moving on to family 7, which is in fa'ala yan fa'ilu. So just remember that this is a lazim family, so you do not have passive forms, they don't take a maf'ul bihi, so they don't have a passive forms, including the ism maf'ul as well. So what we'll do is, in this chart, the first letter is, the first root letter is fa, the second is ain, and the third root letter can be wa or ya. So the past tense will be in fa'a, so you can see the typical alif maksura in the past tense at the end, and the present tense fi'l yan fa'i, So you can see that the ya at the end has a sukoon, which is usual for the present tense except for families 5 and 6, which has the alif maksura, and the masr infiya'an. So you can see the alif and the hamza at the end has been added, and ism fa'il, the dua munfa'in. So again, from the present tense with the ism fa'il, just change the ya to a meme with a dhamma. We drop the ya at the end, and then because it's heavy, the ism fa'il usually has a kasratain anyway, but because it's an ism, we make it heavy, so it's munfa'in. And again, there's no passive version, and the command form is infa'i. And so if we look at the present tense, the yanfa'i, what we do is we take the anta version, tanfa'i, we make it lighter because there's a ya with a sukoon at the end, we just simply drop it, so tanfa'i, then we drop the first ta, then we're left with the new first letter. Noon has a sukoon, so you can't start a word with a sukoon, so we have to add an alif. When we look at the second to last letter in the huwa version, that's the ain with the kasra, so the new alif that we add at the start takes a kasra. So if just to remember, just as a reminder, if the second to last letter has a kasra or a fatha, then the new alif takes a kasra. But if the second to last letter has a dhamma, then the new alif takes a dhamma. And obviously with family 4, the commanding, we add a alif hamza with a fatha, but that's only unique for family 4. So the command is infa'i, and the forbidding form is la tanfa'i. So if you look at the present tense, yanfa'i, take the anta version, tanfa'i, make it lightest by dropping the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then that becomes tanfa'i, and then we add the lam at the front, la tanfa'i. And the zarf, the place and time of action, is munfa'an, which would have been the ism maf'ul. And we discussed this as we went along. Example of family 7 in fa'ala, we will use the ba, the gha, and the ya, which means appropriate. So past tense, imbaga would be it was appropriate. So in English, remember family 7, even though it's considered active, it sounds passive in English, so it was appropriate. So imbaga, and you notice the alif maksura at the end of the past tense, which is typical for naqis, and the present tense fi'l yambagi, it is appropriate. So again, the ya with the sukoon, which is typical of present tense naqis except for family 5 and 6, and the masdar in biga'an, and the alif and the hamza at the end to be appropriate, and the ism fa'il is munbagin, the thing which is appropriate. So from the present tense to the ism fa'il, the ya, switch it to a meme with the dhamma, drop the ya at the end and make it heavy, and naqis always ism fa'il has a kasratain anyway, so munbagin, and then there's no passive line, and the command form is imbagi. So if you look at the present tense yambagi, we take the anta version, tanbagi, we make it lighter because of the ya and the sukoon at the end, we simply drop it, tambagi, and then we drop the first ta, and then we're left with a new first letter, noon with the sukoon, so we have to add an alif. We look at the second to last letter, the gha, again has a kasra, so we add a kasra to the new alif at the start. So imbagi, you male, be appropriate. And forbidding form, la tambagi, you male, don't be appropriate. So we look at the present tense yambagi, we look at the anta version tambagi, make it lighter, so drop the ya with the sukoon at the end and add a lam at the start, la tambagi. And the zarf is the munbagan, with the time and place of being appropriate. So that is how the ism maf'ul would have looked if family 7 could take one. So moving on to family 8, ifta'ala yafta'ilu. So again, for this chart, the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. And just to remember, the extra ta is inserted into this family between the first root letter and the second root letter. So the past tense is ifta'a, typical alif maksura at the end. The present tense is yafta'i, the ya with the sukoon, again very typical apart from family 5 and 6. The masdar iftiya'an, so you can see the alif and the hamza at the end. And the ism fa'il is mufta'in, again from present tense to ism fa'il, change the ya to a meme, drop the ya, and then make the ism fa'il heavy. And bear in mind that the ism fa'il always has a kasratain anyway, so mufta'in. Past passive tense, uftu iya, you can see how the ya has come back. and the passive present tense yufta'a. Typical passive present has alif maksura and all the harakat at the top. Masdar iftiya'an, and the ism maf'ul is mufta'an. And there's a connection between the ism maf'ul and the passive present tense. Change the ya to a meme and then make it heavy, because the ism maf'ul is an ism, and the command form is ifta'i. So if you look at the present tense yafta'i, take the anta version tafta'i, make it lightest. The ya has a sukoon, and the ya at the end has a sukoon, so we simply drop it, tafta'i, then we drop the first ta. The new first letter fa has a sukoon, so we have to add an alif. Second to last letter huwa version yafta'i has the ain has a kasra, so we add a kasra to the new alif, so you're left with ifta'i. And the forbidding form la tafta'i, again the present tense yafta'i, take the anta version tafta'i, make it lightest by dropping the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then add a lam at the start, la tafta'i. And the zarf is mufta'an, same as the ism maf'ul, the place and time of doing the action. And that's something we explained. And then if you look at example family 8, ifta'ala yafta'ilu, using the three root letters lam, kaf and ya, which means to meet. And the past tense fi'l is iltaqa, so he met, and you can see the alif maksura at the past tense at the end. And the present tense yaltaqi, again the ya with the sukoon at the end, which is typical. He is meeting, and the masdar iltiqa'an, the alif with the hamza at the end, to meet. And ism fa'il is multaqin, the one who is meeting. Again, from the present tense to the ism fa'il, it's the same pattern. Change the ya to a meme, drop the ya at the end, and make the ism heavy, the ism fa'il. And bearing in mind that ism fa'il in the naqis has a kasratain anyway. So passive past tense, ultuqiya, so you can see again the ya has returned in the passive past tense, which is typical. And the passive present tense yultaqa still keeps the alif maksura and has all the harakat at the top. It is being met, and the masdar, or he is being met. And the masdar iltiqa'an, to meet, and ism maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, which is the one who is met, multaqan. So there's a connection between passive present to the ism maf'ul. Change the ya to a meme and make it heavy. And the command form is iltaqi, you may or meet. So if you look at the present tense, yaltaqi, take the anta version taltaqi, make it lightest. To make it lightest, we drop the ya with the sukoon at the end, taltaqi, and then we drop the first ta. The new first letter lam has a sukoon on it, so we need to add an alif. Look at the second to last letter qaf, which has a kasra, so we add a kasra to the new alif that we've added. So iltaqi is the command form, and the forbidding form is la taltaqi, you may or don't meet. So again, present tense yaltaqi, take the anta version taltaqi, make it lightest by dropping the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then add a lam at the start, la taltaqi, you may or don't meet. And then the zarf is the time and place of meeting is multaqan, and which is the same as the ism maf'ul. So moving on to family 10, it's istaf'ala yastaf'ilu family. So again in this table, the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. So the past tense is istaf'a, and you can see the typical alif maksura at the end. Present tense fi'l is yastaf'i, and again typical, you can see the ya and the sukoon, the ya sukoon at the end, which is in most of the big families except 5 and 6. The masdar is istifa'an, and again you can see the alif and the hamza at the end of the masdar. Ism fa'il is mustaf'in, and again switching between present tense to ism fa'il, change the ya to a meme with a dhamma, drop the ya and just make the ism heavy, and bearing in mind that naqis always has a, for the ism fa'il, kasratain, 2 kasras. And the passive past tense is ustuf'iya, so you can see how the ya comes back, which is typical for the passive past. And the passive present tense is yustaf'a, again it has the alif maksura, which is typical, and all the harakat at the top. And istif'a'an, the masdar, and the ism maf'ul is mustaf'an, similar to the passive present tense, so you just change the ya to a meme and then make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is a ism. So the command form is istaf'i. So the present tense, if we take a look at, is yastaf'i. Then you take the anta version, because bearing in mind the commanding form, forbidding forms in these charts is the anta, you, masculine version. So we take the anta version, yastaf'i. We make it lightest, and because there's a ya and a sukoon at the end, we just drop that, so it becomes tastafi, and then we drop the ta at the start. Because the new first letter seen has a sukoon, we add an alif. We look at the second to last letter of huwa, which is yastafi, which is ain with a kasra, so we add a kasra on the alif that we add at the start, so istafi, and the forbidding form is la tastafi. And again, if you look at the present tense, yastafi, take the enter version, tastafi. We drop the ya to make it lightest, the ya with the sukoon, we drop it, so it becomes tastafi, and then we put a la at the front, so it becomes forbidding, becomes la tastafi. And the zarf is the same as this one, full mustafan. And that's what we explained. The example of family 10, istafala, yastafilu, family, using the ain, the lam, and the ya, which means to rise. And the past tense is ista'la. Again, the ya, the alif maksura at the end of the past tense, which is typical. In the present tense, yasta'li, and again the present tense has the ya with the sukoon at the end. He is rising. Masdar isti'la'an, to rise, and at the end you have the alif with the hamza. And the ism fa'il, the dua, is musta'lin, the one who is rising. And again, from the present tense to the ism fa'il, change the ya to a mim with the dhamma, drop the ya and make the lam heavy, bearing in mind the ism fa'il always has a kasratain. Passive past tense, ustu'liya, you see the ya comes back, and the passive present tense is yusta'la. Again, the last letter is a alif maksura, which is typical for a passive present tense, and all the harakat at the top. The masdar is isti'la'an, and then the ism maf'ul is musta'lan. Again, the quick switch between the passive present to the ism maf'ul, change the ya to a mim, and then make it heavy because the ism maf'ul is a ism. Command form is ista'li, so you may all rise. So if you look at the present tense, yasta'li, take the under version, tasta'li, make it lighter, because the ya has a sukoon at the end, we just drop it, so tasta'li, and then drop the ta at the start, and the new first letter sin has a sukoon, then we add an alif, and second to last letter, which is lam, has a kasra, so therefore the new alif has a kasra, so ista'li, you may rise. And the forbidding form is la tasta'li, you may or don't rise. So again, if you look at the present tense, yasta'li, we take the enter version, tasta'li, we make it lighter by dropping the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then we add a lam at the start, la tasta'li. And the zarf, the time and place of rising, is musta'lan, which is the same as the ism maf'ul, musta'lan, which is typical for the big families. So the other changes in the big families, so if we look at the past tense, the huwa version takes an alif maksura, which is something that is typical for all the big families. If the third letter is wa or ya, the alif maksura is replaced by ya after the huwa version. So when we look at the past tense chart, after the huwa version, the alif maksura is replaced with a ya, and then the ya is removed for hum, here, and huma, feminine only. So the huma feminine version, the ya is removed, so it's removed from the hum, which is they, hiya is she, and huma is both of them, but the feminine only version, the hiya, is removed, and the hum version ends in ow sound instead of the u sound. So the typical is usually that before the wa and the sukoon in the hum version, which means they, which includes males and females, usually we have a wa and a sukoon, and just before that, whatever letter is that usually has a dhamma on it, so it's like a u sound. But in this, for naqis, you see an o sound, so the wa and the sukoon, the letter before it takes a fatah. So if we look at an example for the past tense chart using family 3, so fa'ala, yufa'ilu. So again, the first root letter in this chart is fa, the second root letter is ain, and the last third root letter will be wa or ya. So if you look at huwa, it's fa'a, which is typical as we did the past tense, that has an alif maksura at the end. And the dual huma, you can see the alif maksura is replaced with ya, so fa'a ya. The plural hum is fa'o, and like I said, normally with the hum version we see an u sound. So when you have the wa and the sukoon, the letter before that usually has a dhamma. But in naqis, the hum version, you get an O sound, not an U sound. So meaning you see the wa and the sukoon, and the letter before it tends to have a fatha. So it's fa o. Here is fa'at, and you can see the ya has been dropped. Huma fa'ata, because that's a feminine version of huma, the ta has been dropped again, fa'ata. And then hunna, you can see that ya comes back, fa'aina. And then the anta, you masculine, fa'aita. And then from then on, because this is past tense, if you remember, that the set from hunna onwards, the initial part of the word is the same. So fa'i will be the same. It's just the noon after the ya sukoon, everything after that changes, but anything before that remains the same. So anta is fa'ita, antuma is fa'ituma, antum all of you, fa'aitum, anti you feminine, fa'iti, antuma fa'ituma both of you women, antunna all of you women, fa'itunna, ana which means I, fa'itu, and nahnu we, fa'ina. So that's, as we explained before, the ya is removed for hum here, and huma feminine only version, which has been highlighted in yellow. So an example of past tense family, fa'ala, yufa'ilu, using the la, lam, kaf and ya, which means to meet. So the huwa version is laqa, so he met. Huma version, the dual masculine huma version, laqa ya, so you can see the yas come back, both of them met, men, met. And then the hum, again, they all met, including men and women, laqaw. So typical, we see a dhamma before the wa sukoon, but in the naqis it's a fatha before the wa sukoon, so it's laqaw, it makes a o sound rather than a u sound. And the hiya is laqat, so you can see the ya has been dropped, and huma feminine laqata, again the ya has been dropped, both of them women met. Then the hunna version, the ya comes back, so laqaina. So you can see the lam is the first root letter, kaf is the second, the ya is the third. So all three root letters are there. The third letter, the last letter just gets a sukoon, and then the noon fatha is added to it, and then after that, the laqai remains there. It's just the last, after the ya sukoon is what the change occurs. So they all met women, and then laqaita, you met man. Antuma laqaituma, both of you met men. Met, antum, all of you met. Laqaitum, anti, you met woman. Laqaiti, antuma laqaituma, both of you met, meaning female men, women, sorry. And then antunna laqaitunna, all of you women met. And ana, I met. Laqaitu, and nahnu, we met. Laqaina. So in the present tense, the ya is removed for hum and antum version to prevent the u sounds. If you remember before, whenever certain unacceptable sounds, when you hear them, automatically you should realize that a change needs to occur. So the antunna and the anti forms look the same as well. So again, it's only context that will tell you which one it refers to. So antunna is all of you women, and anti means you, woman, single. So they look the same. If we take a look at example, family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, and we'll take the first root letter fa, second root letter ain, and the third root letter will be ya or wa. So if we look at the huwa version, it'll be yufa'i. So remember, this is present tense, yufa'i, which is typical that the ya has a sukoon at the end. The huma version, yufa'iyani. And the hum version, yufa'una. And the hiya version, tufa'i. Huma version, tufa'iyani. Hunna version, yufa'ina. And the anta, tufa'i. Antuma is tufa'iyani. And antum is tufa'una. And the anti is tufa'ina, and antuma is tufa'iyani, and antunna is tufa'ina, which is the same as the anti. So anti and antunna are the same. And ana is ufa'i, and nahnu we nufa'i. So if you notice, the ya is removed from the hum and antum to prevent the u sounds. So the hum and the antum, yufa'una and tufa'una, the yellow highlighted, the ya is removed. Otherwise you get the u sound, so they're dropped. So an example here is example of a present tense family 3 fa'ala yufa'ilu using lam, kaf and ya, which means to meet. So it's present tense. So huwa is yulaki, he is meeting. Again, the ya with the sukoon is typical in the present tense huwa version. Huma yulakiyani, both of them are meeting, men. And then the hum yulakuna, so the ya is dropped to prevent the u sound. They are all meeting, including men and women. Hiya tulaki, she is meeting. Huma tulakiyani, both of them are meeting. And then the hunna yulakina, they are all meeting. Anta tulaki, you are meeting. Antuma tulakiyani, both of you, men are meeting. And antum tulakuna, you are all meeting, meaning men and women. And again the ya has been dropped. Anti, you feminine, tulakina, you are meeting. And antuma tulakiyani, both of you women are meeting. And then antuna tulakina, you are all meeting, which is the same as anti. So anti and antuna are the same. And ana ulaki, I am meeting. And nahnu ulaki, we are meeting. So if you look at families 5, tafa'ala yatafa'alu, and family 6, tafa'ala yatafa'alu. In both families, the present tense form ends in alif maksura. If you remember, this was the exception. The present tense, normally for the other families, the present tense ends with a ya with a sukoon, but this ends with alif maksura, and this creates a fatha sound across the chart. So an example for present tense family 5, tafa'ala yatafa'alu, and again we will use the first root letter as fa, the second root letter as ain, and the last third root letter as wa or ya. So huwa, it will be yatafa'a. So you can see the present tense has alif maksura, which is only for family 5 and 6. Huma yatafa'ayani, and then the hum yatafa'auna. So again you can see that it doesn't create a u sound, which is very typical for hum versions, but in Naqis it's you get the o sound. So yatafa'auna. Then hiya tatafa'a, and then huma tatafa'a yani, and then hunna yatafa'ina. So you can see that the last root letter has a sukoon on it, and then you add a nun fatha. Then the anta, the alif maksura becomes a ya in the hunna version, yeah. And the anta tatafa'a, antuma tatafa'yani, and then antum tatafa'auna. So you get the o sound again instead of the u. Anti tatafa'aini, antuma tatafa'ayani, and then antuna tatafa'aini. And again the anti and the antuna look the same. And ana atafa'a, and nahnu natafa'a. And again the ya is removed for hum and antum to prevent the u sounds. That's why we get the o in antum and the hum as well, o. So look at an example in the present tense for family 5, tafa'ala yatafa'alu, using the 3 root letters, the mim being the first, the nun the second, and the ya the third root letter. So this is present tense. So if you look at huwa, is yatamanna, which means he is wishing, and you can see the alif maksura in the huwa version. And in the dual, you can see yatamanna yani, you can see how the alif maksura has become a ya in the huma version. And the hum yatamannawna, which is typical that instead of the u sound, which is normal for the hum version, we get an o sound with naqis yatamannawna. So meaning o, meaning the if you look at the wa and the sukoon, the letter before it normally takes a dhamma, so you get the u sound. But in the case of naqis, you often get the o sound, meaning the letter before the wa and the sukoon has a fatha on it. So the hiya is yatamanna with the alif maksura, then huma tamanna yani, and the hunna is yatamannaina. So you can see that the yas come back. For anta, you masculine, tatamanna, so you are wishing. Antuma tatamanna yani, both of you men are wishing. And antum tatamannawna, again the o sound instead of the u. You all are wishing, meaning you male and female, group of male and females. And anti, you feminine, tatamannayna, you are wishing woman, and antuma tatamannayani, both of you are wishing women, and then antunna tatamannayna, which is the same as anti, you all women are wishing, and ana atamanna, I am wishing, and nahnu natamanna, we are wishing. Now if we look at the passive past tense, the ya is removed for hum to prevent the u sound. So the family 3, the passive past tense chart, so bear in mind this is passive past tense chart. So the passive past tense makes a o and e sound, and if you remember, the way to create the passive past is that the last letter is untouched, the second to last letter gets a kasra, and everything before the second to last letter gets a dhamma unless there's a sukoon. The sukoon remains a sukoon. So this is a passive past tense chart using the family 3, fa'ala, yufa'ilu, and then we'll use the first root letter as fa, the second root letter as ain, and the third root letter will be wa or ya. So starting with huwa is fu'iya, dual is huma, fu'iya, and then you can see in hum it's fu'u. So you can see in the hum version the ya has been taken out to prevent the u sound. So it's just fu'u, the ya has been dropped. And here is fu'iyat, huma is fu'iyata, and then hunna is fu'ina. And you notice that from hunna onwards, the start of the word, the fu'i, will remain the same. It's just everything after the ya and the sukoon will change. So antas fu'ita, antuma fu'ituma, antum fu'itum, anti fu'iti, antuma fu'ituma, antunna fu'itunna, and ana fu'itu, and nahnu fu'ina. So if we just look as an example with the passive past tense using family 3, so fa'ala yufa'ilu, this time we'll use the 3 root letters, the lam, the kaf, and the ya, which means to meet, and the huwa is lukiya, so you can see the ya's there, he was met, and huma lukiya, so both of them were met. So man, bear in mind this is passive past tense. So hum is luku, so they all were met, and you can see the ya has been dropped to prevent the u sound, and the hiya is lukiyat, so she was met. So huma lukiyata, both of them women were met, and hunna lukina, they all women were met, and then the luki will remain throughout the chart. So anta is lukita, you were met, meaning a man. Antuma lukituma, both of you men were met. Antum lukitum, all of you were met, including men and women. Anti, you were met, for woman. Lukiti, antuma lukituma, both of you women were met. Antunna lukitunna, you all were met, women. Ana lukitu, I was met, and nahnu lukina, we were met. And there's some changes that occur with naqis in the passive present tense. So the passive present ends with alif maksura, which creates a fatha sound throughout the chart, and the alif maksura is dropped in hum and antum to prevent the u sound, and the antunna and the anti form looks the same, which is quite typical in naqis. And the family, if we look at family 3, using the passive present tense, so it's fa'ala, you, fa'ilu. If you remember, to make a present tense passive, usually all the harakat are at the top, that you notice that they're usually at the top. To create it has a u and a r sound, so meaning the last letter is untouched, the first letter takes a dhamma, and everything in between takes a fatha unless there's a sukoon, and the sukoon remains a sukoon. So the third root letter, in this case we'll use the first, in this chart, first root letter is fa, second root letter is ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. So the huwa would be yufa'a, so you can see all the harakat at the top. Huma is yufa'a yani, and the hum is yufa'awna, and again that's to prevent the u sound. The ya is removed. Hiya is tufa'a, huma is tufa'a yani, hunna is yufa'ina, and then the anta, you masculine tufa'a, antuma tufa'a yani, and then antum again tufa'awna, and it's pretty, typical for naqis to create the au sound rather than the u sound in the hum and antum versions. and because the ya is dropped because of the u sound that it would make. And anti is tufa'aini, antuma is tufa'ayani, antunna is tufa'aini, and it's the same as the anti. Ana ufa'a and nahnu nufa'a. And just an example of passive present tense using family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, using lam, kaf and ya, which means to meet. So the singular huwa yulaqa, he is being met, because this is present, is passive and is present. Yulaqayani is huma, both of them are being met. Men, hum yulaqawna, they all are being met. Again, the ya has been dropped to prevent the u sound, and instead you get an o sound, which is typical of naqis. For hum and antum, usually you get the u sound, so meaning the wa with the sukoon. The letter before it usually has a dhamma, but in naqis often you have the letter before the wa and sukoon takes a fatha. So hiya tulaka, she is being met. Huma tulakayani, both of them are being met. Women, hunna yulakaini, they all are being met, women. And anta, you are being met, man. Tulaka, antuma tulakayani, both of you are being met, men. And antum tulakawna, you all are being met, including men and women. Anti, you are being met, woman. Tulakaini, and antuma tulakayani, both of you are being met, women. And antunna tulakaini, you all are being met, meaning women. And it's the same as anti. Again, it's the context and the meaning of the sentence which helps to differentiate whether it's anti or antunna being mentioned. And then the ana is ulaka, I am being met, and nahnu nulaka, we are being met. Also, in commanding and forbidding forms, there's some changes as well in naqis. So in the anta form, for commanding or forbidding, the vowel is removed, the rest of commanding or forbidding constructed normally. So if we just take a look at family 3, and we'll look at the commanding and forbidding chart, the fa'ala yufa'ilu. So the first root letter will make fa, the second root letter will make ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. And bearing in mind, whenever we do commanding and forbidding, we only need the second person, so anta onwards. So the second person, anta. So the normal form, so we've written is tufa'i. And the commanding form would be fa'i. And the way to do that is, if you look at the anta version, tufa'i, we make it lightest, because the ya and the sukoon is at the end. We just drop it, and then you're left with the fa'i, and then you drop the ta at the start, then you're left with fa'i. And because the new first letter fa has a fatha on it, we don't need to add an extra alif, so the commanding form is simply fa'i, and the forbidding form is la tufa'i. So again, if we look at the anta version, tufa'i, so we make it lightest, because the ya has a sukoon at the end, we simply drop it, and then we add a lam at the front, so it's la tufa'i. And the antuma is tufa'iyani, and the commanding form would be fa'iya. So it's constructed typically normally, so meaning the tufa'iyani, because it's a ending combination, alif noon, to make it lightest we just drop the noon, and then we drop the ta at the start as well, so you're left with fa'iya. And the forbidding form is la tufa'iya, again ending combination alif noon, to make it lightest drop the noon, and then add a lam at the front, la tufa'iya. And antum tufa'una, again the commanding form will simply be fa'u. So again, because this is ending combination wa and noon, we simply drop the noon to make it lightest, and then drop the ta at the start, and you're left with fa'u. And forbidding form, la tufa'u, again make it lightest, drop the noon, add the lam at the front, la tufa'u. And anti tufa'ina, again the commanding form would be fa'i. So if you look at tufa'ina, because it's ending combination ya with the noon, to make it lightest we drop the noon, and then we drop the ta at the start, and you're left with fa'i. And the forbidding form is la tufa'i. So take tufa'ina, the anti version, make it lightest, drop the noon, because it's an ending combination ya and the noon, and then just put lam in front of it, la tufa'i. And antuma is tufa'iyani, which we done before, so it's identical to the masculine version. So the commanding form is fa'iya, and forbidding form is la tufa'iya. And the antunna is tufa'ina. And if you remember, with the hunna and antunna versions, when we want to make it lightest, it remains the same. So if the normal version is tufa'ina, then the light version will be tufa'ina, and the lightest version will still be tufa'ina. And this is true for only hunna and antunna. So if we made that lightest, it will still be tufa'ina, and then we simply drop the ta at the start, so you're left with fa'ina. And the forbidding form will be la tufa'ina. So again, take the antunna version tufa'ina, the lightest will still be tufa'ina, and then just simply put a lam in front of it, la tufa'ina is the forbidding form. So if we just do an example of commanding and forbidding forms of family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, and again we'll use the 3 rule as lam, kaf and ya, which means to meet. So the singular anta is tulaki, that's the normal version, and the forbidding will be laki. So again, if, just make it lighter, drop the ya with the sukoon, remove the ta, laki, forbidding form, la tulaki. So meaning, laki means you meet, you masculine meet, and then forbidding form la tulaki, don't meet, you masculine don't meet. So la tulaki is just, if you look at tulaki, you simply drop the ya. To turn it lighter, drop the ya with the sukoon, add a lam in front of it. And antuma tulakiyani, and the commanding form, because it's any combination, alif noon. Drop the noon to make it lighter, and drop the ta at the start, lakiya, and then forbidding form la tulakiya. Again, make it lighter, drop the noon and add the lam in front of it, la tulakiya. And antum tulakuna, so the commanding form will simply be laku. So what we do is, because it's any combination wa noon, to make it lighter, drop the noon and then drop the ta at the start, so you're left with laku. And the forbidding form is la tulaku. So if you look at tulakuna, ending combination wa noon, drop the noon to make it lighter and add a lam at the front. And then the anti version, tulakina, and again, because it's an ending combination ya noon, so if you want to make it lighter, drop the noon and then drop the ta at the start, so you're left with laki for the commanding form. So you feminine, meet, and then forbidding form is la tulaki. Again, lightest form, drop the noon and add a lam at the front, la tulaki. And antuma is the same as what we did before, tulakiyani for the masculine is the same for the feminine, lakiya, and forbidding form is la tulakiya. And then antunna is tulakina, and if you remember, hunna antunna versions, the lightest version still remains the same, so it's still if you make it lightest, it's still tulakina, and we simply just drop the ta at the start, so you're left with lakina as the commanding form. So all of you women meet, and the forbidding form la tulakina, again take tulakina, make it lightest form, it still remains as tulakina, and then add the lam in front. Now we look at the isme fa'il and how in Naqis how that is affected. So the masculine singular form, the rafa and the jar status, they both take a kasratain, and the masculine singular form in the nasab status takes a ya with a fatatain. And the ya is present for every other form except the masculine plural. So if we look at the masculine chart for family 3, so fa'ala yufa'ilu, and the isme fa'il is mufa'ilun. And what we've done is the third root letter is wa or ya, meaning the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. So if we look at the masculine chart, so you on the far right we have the status, the rafa, the nasab, the jar. The singular version is mufa'in, so that's rafa, and that's the same as the jar, mufa'in, and that's why they both highlighted in yellow. And again, in order to determine which one it is, rafa or jar, you have to look at context and other things within the sentence to determine if it's rafa or jar. And the singular nasab is mufa'iyan, so you can see that it ends with a ya, fata. The dual is mufa'iyani, so you can see the ya has come back, and that's rafa. And the nasab and jar is mufa'iyaini, both again nasab and jar. If you remember, the dual nasab and jar always look the same as well as the plural, and it's context that tells you which one it is, and other clues as well. The plural in rafa is mufa'una, and again the ya is not present, and the nasab for plural is mufa'ina, and the jar is mufa'ina, and again the ya, the third root letter, is not present, because if you look at the mufa'ina, the ya with the sukoon is actually part of the ending combination, it's not the third root letter. The third root letter ya has actually been dropped. And this I explained as we went along. And so if you look at an example for the masculine chart for family 3, so fa'ala yufa'ilu, and this time we'll use the 3 root letters lam, qaf and ya, and the ism fa'il is mulakin, if you remember. And so the singular rafa is mulakin, which is the same as the jarsa as mulakin. And the nasab, remember it has a ya with the fatatain, so it's mulakiyan, that will be the nasab singular version. And the dual rafa is mulakiyani, so you can see the ya has come back, the third root letter ya is back. And the dual nasab and jar is mulakiyayni, so you can see that the third root letter ya is there. And then the plural rafa is mulakuna, so you can see the ya, the third root letter has been dropped. And then same with the nasab and the jar for the plural is mulakina, again the ya has been, the third root letter ya has been dropped. That ya with the sukoon you see in mulakina is part of the Indian combination, it's not the third root letter. Also, if you look at the feminine chart for family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, the ism fa'il is mufa'ilun. So again, in this chart, the first root letter will be fa, the second root letter will be ain, and the third root letter will be wa or ya. So if you look at the singular rafa status, it's mufa'iyatun, the nasab is mufa'iyatan, and the jar is mufa'iyatin, which is completely normal. That's a normal feminine chart. And then the dual, the rafa is mufa'iyatani, the nasab is mufa'iyataini, and so is the jar mufa'iyataini. Again, that's completely normal, as per usual for feminine chart. And the plural for rafa is mufa'iyatun, and the nasab and the jar is mufa'iyatin, and again that's completely normal as well, so the feminine chart is unaffected. And again we gave an example for the feminine chart for family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, using lam, qaf and ya, and ism fa'il is mulakin. So the rafa in singular is mulakiyatun, the nasab is mulakiyatan, the fatatain, and the jar is mulakiyatin, the kasratain. And then the dual rafa is mulakiyatani, and the jar and nasab is the same, mulakiyataini. And the plural for rafa is mulakiyatun, and the nasab and the jar for plural is mulakiyatin, which is, so the whole chart is normal. So now we move on to the ism maf'ul. So the masculine singular form ends in the alif maksura fatatain. So the masculine dual and feminine plural forms, so masculine dual and feminine plural, the alif maksura is replaced with a ya. So if we take a look at this masculine chart for family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, if you remember the ism maf'ul is mufa'alun. But in this case, we'll do the first root letter will be fa, the second root letter will be ain, and the third root letter will be wa or ya. So the singular is mufa'an, that's rafa, and nasab is mufa'an as well, and jar is mufa'an as well. So in each case, because of the alif maksura, it becomes non-flexible. So in all 3 cases they look the same. But again, context will tell you which one, or other things within the sentence, other words will tell you what status it is. And the dual is mufa'ayani, so you can see the ya is there in the highlighted blue, the third root letter is there. And the nasab and jar is mufa'ayani, so again the third root letter ya is there in the blue highlighted. And the plural, the rafa is mufa'auna, so the ya is missing, the third root letter has been dropped. And the nasab and jar is mufa'aini, and then again the third root letter ya has been, or wa has been dropped, because that ya at the end of mufa'aini is part of the ending combination. And an example for the masculine chart using family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu. This time we'll use the 3 root letters lam, qaf and ya. So the ism maf'ul is mulaqan, so the singular rafa, nasab and jar is mulaqan, because it's non-flexible. If you remember the alif maksura at the end, those words are often non-flexible. So the rafa, the nasab and the jar look the same. The dual is mulaqayani, again you can see the ya, the third root letter is there. The dual nasab and jar is mulaqayani, again the third root letter ya is there. And plural is mulaqawna, so the third root letter ya has been dropped. And the nasab and jar mulaqaini, again the third root letter ya has been dropped, because that ya with the sukoon in mulaqaini is part of the ending combination. And if you look at the feminine chart for family 3, so fa'ala yufa'ilu, The ism maf'ul is mufa'alun. So again, the first root letter in this chart will be fa, the second root letter will be ain, and the third root letter will be wa or ya. So in the singular, rafa is mufa'atun, the nasab is mufa'atan, and the jar is mufa'atin. So that's typical normal chart. And the jewel is mufa'atani, rafa, and nasab and jar is mufa'ataini, and again that's normal and typical. And the plural status for rafa is mufa'ayatun, and the nasab and jar is mufa'ayatin. So we've highlighted the yellow, in the yellow highlighting the ya, so you see the alif maksura ya is replaced with, the alif maksura is replaced with ya in the plural. So just an example for feminine chart for family 3, again fa'ala yufa'ilu, using lam, kaf and ya. The ism maf'ul is mulaqan. So the singular rafa mulaqatun, nasab mulaqatan, jar mulaqatin. So again that's typical. Dual rafa mulaqatani, which is normal, and then you have mulaqataini, nasab and jar, dual, and then it's the plural where you see the difference. So the rafa is mulaqayatun, so you see the alif maksura is replaced with the ya, and the nasab and jar is mulaqayatin, again the alif maksura is replaced with ya. Also there's changes in the zarf, so same rules as the ism maf'ul, because typically in big families the zarf is the same as the ism maf'ul. So the masculine single form ends in the alif maksura fatatain, and the masculine dual form, the alif maksura is replaced with the ya, and the difference between the zarf and the ism maf'ul is the feminine plural is used instead of masculine plural. So it's one chart for both masculine and feminine. So if you remember, when we did do the zarf, the feminine plural is used instead of the masculine plural, and there's only one chart. So there's not two different charts. There's not masculine and plural. It's just one chart. So the zarf chart for family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu. The zarf is mufa'alun, which is the same as the ism maf'ul. So the first root letter in this chart is fa, the second is ain, and the third is wa or ya. So if we look at the chart, so singular, rafa is mufa'an, the nasab and jar is mufa'an, and again because of the alif maksura it becomes non-flexible, so rafa, nasab and jar in the singular looks the same. The dual is mufa'ayani, which is normal, so you can see that the ya has come back, the third root letter has come back and in the form of a ya, and the nasab and the jar is mufa'ayani, so again the third root letter is there, that's normal. And the plural is mufa'ayatun, so the plural of this chart takes the feminine plural, and as you can see the ya is there, the alif maksura has become a ya, the nasab and jar is mufa'ayatin, so again the alif maksura has become a ya. And just an example for the zarf chart for family 3, fa'ala yufa'ilu, using lam, kaf and ya. So the zarf is mulaqan, the same as the ism maf'ul. So the singular rafa is mulaqan, nasab and jar is mulaqan as well, because it's non-flexible, so all three statuses look the same in singular version. Dual is mulaqayani, which is normal, and nasab and jar is mulaqayaini, and you can see that the root letter is there in the third root letter ya is there in each case. And the plural, the rafa is mulaqayatun, so again the alif maksura from the singular version has changed into the ya, which is the third root letter ya. The rafa mulaqayatun, and the nasab and jar is mulaqayatin, again the ya is there. And now if we look at the muster, so the muster of most families fit normally into the masculine chart. The exception is family 5, which is the fa'ala, and the family 6, the fa'ala. These two follow the pattern of the ism fa'il. So the masculine singular form, the rafa and jar status takes the kasratain. The masculine singular form, nasab, takes the ya with the fatatain, and the ya is present for every other form except masculine plural. And the difference is that between the ism fa'il chart and the muster is the muster only has one version. So it's not masculine and feminine chart, it's only one version, and the plural is the feminine version. So if we look at the muster chart for family 5, fa'ala yatafa'alu, so the zarf is mutafa'alun, and the ism fa'il is mutafa'in. So in this chart, the first root letter is fa, the second is the ain, and the third is wa or ya. So the singular rafa is the fa'in, so So if you remember, it takes the kasratain, and the nasab will be tafa'iyan, which is the nasab takes the ya with the fatatain, and the jar is the same as the rafa, tafa'in. And the dual rafa is tafa'iyani, which is normal, and the nasab and the jar is tafa'iyayni. So you can see the third root letter, the ya is there in each case. Even if it's a wa, it comes in the form of a ya. And the plural, tafa'iyatun, so it takes the feminine plural and rafa. So you can see that the third root letter is now a ya. And then the nasab and jar, tafa'iyatin. So even if it was a wa, the third root letter is replaced with a ya, yeah? And then the example for masdar, chart for family 5. So tafa'ala, using mim, noon and ya to desire. Zarf is mutamannan, and the ism fa'il, if you remember, is to mutamannin. So the singular the singular rafa is tamannin, and the nasab and the jar is which is the same as the jar, tamannin, and the nasab is tamanniyan. So the ya with the fatatain, and then the dual rafa is tamanniyani, which is normal. You can see the ya has come back, the third root letter. The nasab and the jar is tamanniyani, so again you can see the third root letter, ya. And the plural is the feminine plural, so rafa is tamanniyatun, so again you can see the third root letter ya is present, and nasab and jar is tamanniyatin, again the ya third root letter is there. So move on to the small families now. So we're still talking about naqis, but we move on to the small families now and see how the having a naqis, how it changes the small families. So if you look at the past tense and the present tense, in some cases the harakat is replaced with a long vowel. So in subfamily 1, which is fa'ala yaf'ulu, the third root letter, if it's turned into a wa or ya, so then the past tense makes an a sound, so it shows as an alif. So it'd be fa'a, and you can it's the third root letter, because remember, if the third root is va or ya, it shows as an alif. And the present tense makes an u sound, so it shows as a wa. So it become fa'a yaf'u. Yeah, so if you look below, the fa'ala yaf'ulu becomes fa'a, so that's the past tense, and the present tense becomes yaf'u. That's for subfamily 1. For subfamily 2, which is fa'ala yafilu, the third root letter, if we make that a wa or ya, and so the first root letter is fa, second is ain, the third is wa or ya, the past tense makes an a sound, so it shows as an alif maksura, and the present tense makes an e sound, so it shows as a ya. So if you look, the fa'ala yafilu becomes fa'a, so you can see in the past tense the alif maksura, and it becomes yaf'i in the present tense, so you can see the ya with the sukoon. And subfamily 3, fa'ala yaf'alu family, so the third root letter, if we make it wa or ya, so the past tense makes an a sound, and it shows as an alif maksura, and the present tense makes an a sound as well, so it shows as a alif maksura. So these, what we mean by a sound or e sound or u sound, it actually follows the original. So if you look at the original fa'ala yafalu, the fa'ala is an a sound, and the yaf'alu is still an a sound. So therefore it still follows that, but the letter changes. So the past tense is still an a sound, so an alif maksura is there, and the present tense is still an a sound, just like yaf'alu, so a sound or a sound, and it shows as an alif maksura. So fa'ala yafalu becomes fa'a yaf'a. So you can see still, the fathahs across both of them are still there. Fa'a yaf'a, fa'ala yafalu. So subfamily 4, so fa'ila yafalu. So if we make the third root letter wa or ya, so you can see the past tense normally is fa'ila, so it makes an e sound, and that will show as a ya, because e is connected to the ya, and the present tense a shows as a alif maksura. So therefore fa'ila, the past tense becomes fa'iya, and yaf'alu becomes yaf'a. So that, the corresponding sounds are still there. And in terms of passives, it follows the pattern. The past passive follows fu'iya. So if you remember the ya on the passive past comes back, so it's fu'iya. But in the passive present tense, it's yuf'a, so meaning the alif maksura is there. And ism fa'il follows the pattern fa'in, so it takes a kasratain. The ism maf'ul for subfamily 1, so fa'ala yaf'ulu, it follows the pattern maf'uun. So you can see that there's a shadda on the wa. A shadda has been added to the wa. So it follows the pattern maf'uun. And for all other subfamilies, it follows the pattern maf'iyun. So only for subfamily 1, fa'ala yaf'ulu, you'll see that it follows the pattern maf'uun, so with a shadda. And for all other subfamilies, the fa follows pattern maf'iyun, again a shadda on the ya. And the zarf follows the pattern maf'an with the alif maksura at the end. The ismi alatun follows the pattern mif'atun with the ta mabuta. And the subfamily 1, so if we just go through it, so fa'ala yaf'ulu. So in this chart, the first root letter is fa, the second is ain, and the third root letter is wa'uya. Now because it's fa'ala yaf'ulu, so we will maintain the sounds of a and u. So in the past tense, it will just be fa'a with a alif, and the present tense will be yaf'u to maintain the yaf'ulu sound. So it's yaf'u with the wa sukoon in the present tense. And the masdar, obviously, with small families, if you remember the small subfamilies, subfamily 1 to 6, you have to look up the masdar in the dictionary. But this is a word that we made up just for understanding purposes, so it doesn't have a masdar. So ism fa'il is fa'in. So if you notice the third root letter, the vowel, whether it's wa or ya, has been dropped, and the kasratain is taken on the second root letter, ain, so it's fa'in. And the passive past tense is fu'iya, so you can see it has a ya. And the passive present tense is yuf'a, so all the harakat are at the top, which is typical for passive present, and it takes the alif maksura. And the ism maf'ul follows maf'uun because this is subfamily 1. That's why it's maf'uun, otherwise it would be maf'iyun. The commanding form would be uf'u, so if we looked at the present tense, yaf'u, take the anta version taf'u, make it lightest, and if you remember, when the last letter has a sukoon, to make it lightest we simply drop it, so we drop the wa with the sukoon, so you're left with taf'u, and then we drop the ta at the start. Then because the new first letter fa has a sukoon, we add an alif. Then when we look at the second to last letter, the ain has a damma, so therefore the alif we add will take a damma, so it becomes ufu. And the forbidding is la tafu. So again, look at the present tense, the yaf'u. Take the anta version tafu. To make it lightest, we just drop the wa and the sukoon at the end, then add a lam at the start, la tafu. And the zarf is maf'an, so it follows that pattern maf'an. And the ismi alatun follows the pattern mif'atun. And this is what we explained as I went along. So just an example for using subfamily 1 for fa'ala yaf'ulu. This time we'll use ta, lam and wa, which means talawat, which means to, the actual first meaning of in Arabic is actually to follow. So it means to practically follow, and it also means to recite. So the past tense would be tala, so you can see the alif there, tala, he recited or he followed. And the present tense is yatlu, because it's a fa'ala yaf'ulu pattern, so it's yatlu, he is reciting. The masdar is tilawatan, if you look it up, to recite. And ism fa'il, or to follow actually, as well. Ism fa'il is talin, so if you remember, we dropped the last root letter, the wa is dropped, and then the lam will take the second root letter takes a kasratain, so it becomes heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism, talin, the one who is reciting. Passive past tense follows fu'ila, so it's tuliya, it was recited. And passive past tense will become yutla, so all of the harakat at the top with an alif maksura at the end, it is being recited. And the masdar tilawatan. Ism maf'ul, the thing that is recited is matluun, because this is a family 1 for subfamily 1 fa'ala yaf'ulu, so that's why it follows matluun, meaning the first root letter is ta, which the meme fatha joins to, and then the second root letter lam is there, and the third root letter is wa, matluun. Commanding form is utlu, so if you look at the present tense, yatlu, take the anta version tatlu, make it lighter, we drop the wa with the sukoon, so it becomes tatlu, and then we drop the ta at the start, and because the first letter ta has a sukoon, we add an alif. We look at the second to last letter lam, which has a dhamma on it, then we put a dhamma on the alif, so it becomes utlu. You may recite, or even you may follow. And forbidding form, la tatlu. So if we look at the present tense, take the anta version tatlu, make it lightest, so we drop the va with the sukoon and add the lam at the start, la tatlu, so you may don't recite. And the zarf follows the maf'an, if you remember, so it's matlan, time and place of reciting, and the ismi alatun follows the pattern mif'atun, so it's mitlatun, so tool for reciting. If we look at subfamily 2, fa'ala yaf'ilu, so the first root letter in this chart is fa, the second is ain, and the third is wa or ya, so the past tense will be fa'a. And again, if you look at the normal fa'ala, you have the r sound, so it's fa'a, and alif maksura at the end, and the present tense is yaf'i, and again, if you look at the normal fa'ala yaf'ilu, it makes the same sound, e, yaf'i with a ya and a sukoon, and the masdar, again, something we look up, and ism fa'il is fa'in, so follows the same pattern, so the third root letter is dropped, and the second root letter becomes heavy or kasratain, and the passive past tense follows the pattern fu'iyah, passive present tense yufa, all the letters are at the top, with an alif maksura at the end, and the ism maf'ul, if you remember, it follows maf'iyun, the only one is maf'uun, is the subfamily one. So command form will be if'i. So if you look at the present tense, if'i, take the anta version taf'i. Then to make it lightest, we just drop the ya and the sukoon at the end. We drop the ta at the start. Second to last letter is an ain, it has a kasra. So the new alif we add at the start gets a kasra, becomes if'i. The forbidding form is la taf'i. If you look at the present tense, if'i, take the anta version taf'i. Drop the ya with the sukoon at the end to make it lightest, and then add a lam at the start. Forbidding form is la taf'i, and the zarf is maf'an, and the ismi alatun, if you remember, it follows the pattern mif'atun. So if you look at an example of subfamily 2, fa'ila yafilu, and we'll use the first the letters ra, mim and ya as the three root letters, which means to throw. So the past tense is rama, he threw. Present tense is yarmi, so remember ya with the sukoon, yarmi. He is throwing, and masdar is, if you look it up, is ramyatan, to throw, and ism fa'il is, it follows the fa'in pattern, so ramin, so meaning the ya, the third root letter, has been dropped, and the kasratain on the second root letter, ramin, the one who is throwing. And passive past tense follows the fu'iya pattern, so rumiya with the ya at the end. The passive present tense is yurma with the alif maksura at the end and all the harakata at the top. It is being thrown. The masdar is amyatan. Ism maf'ul, if you remember, it follows the maf'iyun pattern, so marmiyun, the thing that is thrown. And the commanding form is just irmi, you may or throw. So if you remember, in these charts, the commanding and the forbidding forms are always the anta version, you masculine, so you may or throw. So if you look at the present tense is yarmi. The anta version tarmi, to make it lighter, so we drop the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then the new first letter ra has a sukoon, so we add an alif. We look at the second to last letter, the mim, which has a kasra, so we add a kasra to the new alif at the start, so it becomes irmi, you may throw. And forbidding is la tarmi, so the present tense is yarmi, take the anta version tarmi. To make it lighter, we drop the ya with the sukoon at the end, and then we add the lam at the front, so la tarmi, so you may or don't throw. And the zarf is the place and time of throwing is marman, so it follows the pattern mafan. And the ismi alatun is mirmatun, so the tool for throwing. So if we look at subfamily 3 now, so fa'ala yaf'alu, so you can remember in both cases it's the r sound that will be maintained, because fa'ala and yaf'alu. So the first root letter in this chart is fa, the second is ain, and the third is wa'u ya. So the past tense will be fa'a with an alif maksura, and the present tense will be yaf'a again with the alif maksura and maintains the a sound in the past and the present. And then the ism fa'il is the fa'in, follows the same pattern, and then the passive past tense fu'iya with the ya at the end, the passive present tense yufa, all harakat at the top with the alif maksura at the end. The ism maf'ul follows the maf'iyun pattern. So from subfamily 2 all the way to 6 is maf'iyun pattern, the ism maf'ul, and commanding form is if'a. So again, if you look at present tense, yafa, take the anta version tafa. When you make it lightest, because there's an alif maksura at the end, we simply just drop it. So it becomes tafa, and then we remove the ta at the start. The new first letter fa has a sukoon, so we add an alif. We look at the second to last letter, which is the ain, and it has a fatha on it, so we put a kasra on the alif. So it becomes if'a. The forbidding form is la tafa, and again present tense yafa, take the anta version tafa. To make it lightest, we drop the alif maksura and then just add a lam at the front, la tafa, and the zarf follows the pattern maf'al and maf'an. So maf'an, and ismi alatun is mif'atun. So an example using subfamily 3, fa'ala yafalu, using the ta, the toin, the gan and the ya, which means to transgress. So the past tense is taga, so he transgressed. Present tense yatqa, so again the alif maksura in both the past and the present, which is typical for subfamily 3, to maintain that r sound, which you find in the original fa'ala yaf'alu. And then if you look up, the masdar is tuqyanan, to transgress, and then ism fa'il follows the fa'in pattern, so tagin, the one who's transgressing. So the ya is just dropped at the end, and the second rule'a just takes a kasratain. Kasratain because the ism fa'il is an ism, so we make it heavy. So the passive past tense is tugiya, it was transgressed, and the passive present tense yutqa, so alif maksura at the end with all the harakat at the top. The masdar tuqyanan and ism maf'ul follows the maf'iyun pattern, so it's matqiyun, the thing that is transgressed, and command form itqa, so you may or transgress. So present tense yatqa, take the anta version tatqa, drop the ya at the end to make it lightest. And then we look at the second to last letter, because we have to add an alif at the start, because the new first letter has a sukoon. So we look at the second to last letter, which is the gain, has a fatha, then we add a kasra on the alif, so it becomes itqa. So you may or transgress, and forbidding form la tatqa, you may or don't transgress. So look at the present tense yatqa, take the anta version tatqa. To make it lightest, we drop the ya and then add the lam at the front, la tatqa, you may or don't transgress. And the zarf is time and place of transgressing, matqan, follows the maf'an pattern, and ismi alatun, the tool for transgress is mitqatun. So we move on to subfamily 4, which is fa'ila yaf'alu. So if you notice, in the past tense is the e sound, fa'ila, and then the present tense yaf'alu, the a sound, that will be maintained. So the third letter is wa or ya, so meaning in this chart the first letter is fa, the second is ain, and the third is wa or ya. So the past tense is fa'iya, so the e is maintained from the original fa'ila, fa'iya, so you see the ya at the end with a fatha, and the present tense is yaf'a, so it maintains the yaf'a, the original yaf'alu pattern, the a, yaf'a, and it has an alif maksura, and the ism fa'il again follows the fa'in pattern, where the third letter is dropped and the second letter just takes a kasratain, and the passive past tense is fu'iya, the ya is there. The passive past tense is yufa, the alif maksura is at the end with all the harakat at the top, and the ism maf'ul is as typical mafiyun, and the command form is if'a. And again, if you look at the present tense yafa, take the anta version tafa. To make it lightest, we drop the alif maksura. The new first letter fa has a sukoon, then we add an alif. Second to last letter, the ain, has a fatha, so we add a kasra to the alif, the new alif we added at the start, so it's ifa. The forbidding form is la tafa. So present tense yafa, take the anta version tafa, make it lightest, drop the alif maksura, then the lam at the start to make it la tafa. The zarf is mafan, and the ism alatun is mifatun, and that we explained. So we'll use an example for subfamily 4. So fa'ila yaf'alu, we'll use the ruler as first ba, the second is kaf, and third is ya, which means to remain. So past tense fi'l is baqiya, which means he remained. The present tense is yabqa, So you can see the alif maksura at the end. He's remaining. Masdar is baqa'an. If you look it up, to remain. Ism fa'il follows pattern fa'in, so it's baqin. So the third root letter has been dropped. The second root letter is a kasratain, the one who is remaining. And the passive past tense is bukiya. So the ya is there at the end. And the passive present tense, yubqa. So as per usual, has the alif maksura at the end. And all the harakat at the top. It is being made to remain, and masdar is baqa'an, and ism maf'ul follows a maf'iyun pattern, so it's mabgiyun, the thing that is made to remain, and the command form is ibqa, so you may or remain. So if you look at the present tense, yabqa, take the enter version tabqa, to make it lighter drop the alif maksura. We have to add an alif, so we look at the second to last letter qaf, which has a fatha on it, so we put a kasra on the alif, so it's ibqa, you may remain. And forbidding form la tabqa, you may or don't remain. So present tense yabqa, anta version tabqa, to make it lighter, so we drop the alif maksura and then add a lam at the start, la tabqa. The zarf mabqan, so it follows a pattern maf'an, time and place for remaining, and ismi alatun mibqatun, tool for remaining. So if we move on to subfamily 5, so it's the fa'ila yaf'ilu family. So in this chart, first root letter fa, second ain, and the third root letter will be wa or ya. And remember, because it's fa'ila in the past tense, that e sound will be maintained, and the yaf'ilu in the present tense, the e sound again will be maintained. So if you look at the past tense, it's fa'iya, so it has the ya, and the present tense will be yaf'i, to maintain that e sound in the present tense with the ya and the sukun at the end. And the ism fa'il is fa'in as per usual, and the passive past tense is fu'iya with the ya, and the passive present tense is the yufa with the alif maksura at the end and all the harakat at the top, and ism maf'ul is maf'iyun, which is typical, and the command form is if'i. So if you look at the present tense, yafi, anta version tafi, to make it lighter, so we drop the ya with the sukun, and then we have to add an alif because the new first letter of fa has a sukun. Look at the second to last letter, ain has a kasra, therefore we add a kasra to the alif. So if'i, forbidding form la tafi, so again present tense yafi, take the anta version tafi, to make it lighter, we drop the ya with the sukun at the end and then add a lam at the start, la tafi. Zarf is mafan, and isma alatun follows a pattern mif'atun. So the mif, meaning the fa, is the first root letter, ain is second root letter, and the third root letter is dropped, mif'atun. So if we move on to subfamily 6, so fa'ula yaf'ulu. So the third root letter, here again this chart, the first root letter is fa, the second is ain, and the third is lam. The third is wa or ya. So first root letter fa, second is ain, and the third root letter is wa or ya. So in order to maintain the sound, so fa'ula, so it will maintain the ya sound in the past tense, and the yaf'ulu, so it will maintain the u sound in the present tense. So the past tense will be fa'a with an alif because of the dhamma in the original form fa'ula. Present tense will be yafu, to maintain that u sound, so wa sukun at the end, and then the ism fa'il is fa'in. And if you remember, subfamily 6 is a lazim family, so it doesn't have a passive line including the ism maf'ul, so we skip straight to the commanding form, so it's ufu. And the reason why is because if you look at the present tense yafu, take the anta version tafu, to make it lighter, so we drop the wa with the sukun at the end. New first letter fa has a sukun, so we have to add an alif, and then we look at the second to last letter, the ain has a dhamma, so we add a dhamma on the new alif, so it's ufu. And commanding form is la tafu, so again present tense yafu, take the anta version tafu, make it lighter by dropping the wa with the sukun, and then add the lam at the start, la tafu. And the zarf is follows a pattern maf'an, and the ismi alatun follows a pattern mifatun. Now other changes in small families, so it's similar to changes in the big families, but if the third root letter is wa, then the wa comes back in the past tense and the present tense charts. And if the third root letter is ya, then the ya comes back in past tense and present tense charts. So here, just to explain what we mean, we have subfamily 1, which is fa'ala yaf'ulu, and this chart includes the past and the present, so both have been put together. So the third root letter in this case, in this chart, is wa. Yeah, so the first root letter is fa, the second is ain, and the third root letter is wa. So if we look at the huwa version, so we have past tense will be fa'a, because this is fa'ala yaf'ulu. So remember the is maintained, so it's fa'a with the alif at the end, and present tense is yaf'u, again to maintain that u sound. And the huma version for past tense is fa'o, and then the present tense will be yaf'uwani. And then the hum version, the present tense will be fa'au. So if you remember, in the past tense case for hum version, typically you get the u sound. So the wa and the sukoon, the letter before it has a dhamma. But with naqis, in the past tense, hum version, you often get the wa with the sukoon, and the letter before it has a fatha on it. So you get the o sound instead of the u sound. So that means the third root letter has been dropped. So you just got fa'o. And the present tense is yafuna, which is normal. Yafuna. But again, the third root letter, wa has been dropped to prevent the two wa's coming together like that. So yafuna. So here the past tense will be fa'at, the present tense will be taf'u. Huma, the past tense will be fa'ata, and the present tense will be taf'uwani. So you can see how in the present tense the wa comes back, and in hunna the past tense is fa'una, and the present tense is yaf'una. So again, in the past tense you can see the o sound, the wa has been dropped in the past tense. And anta, you masculine, the past tense is fa'uta, and the present tense is taf'u. Similar to here, it's the same as here, then context determines which one it is. Antuma, past tense is fa'utuma, the present tense is taf'uwani, and then antum, past tense is fa'utum, so all of you including male and female, and the present tense is taf'una. And the anti, if you notice, the past tense always starts with fa'o. It's only the last letter or the last letters that change after that. So fa'uti, and the present tense taf'ina. And the antuma version, past tense fa'utuma, and the present tense is taf'uwani. And the antunna is the past tense fa'utunna, present tense taf'una. Ana, past tense fa'utu, present tense af'u. Nahnu, past tense fa'una, and the present tense is naf'u. So, and then just an example using subfamily 1, we have both the past and the present tense chart. So using fa'ala yafulu, but this time the three root letters will be ta, lam, and waw, which means to recite or to follow. But what we'll do is I'll go through just the past tense first, and then I'll come back and go through the present tense. So a little bit different from before. So the past tense was tala, he recited. Then huma, past tense is tala, and then hum version will be talau, which is unusual, like I said, because it has the o sound instead, so they all recited. And then the hiya, past tense is talat, so she recited. So you can see how the wa has been dropped. Huma, past tense talata, both of them recited women. And then hunna, past tense talawna, they all recited. So again, the third root letter wa is not there, it's been dropped. Talawna, sorry, the third root letter is there with the wa, with the sukoon on it, talawna. And that will be maintained now for the rest of the chart, the talaw at the start. So anta, past tense talawta, you recited. Antuma, past tense talawtuma, both of you men recited. Antum, all of you men and women recited talawtum. And then anti would be past tense talawti, you recited woman, and past tense antuma, both of you recited women talawtuma. And then antunna, past tense talawtunna, all of you women recited. And then ana, past tense talawtu, I recited. Nahnu, past tense talawna, we recited. So if we just go through the present tense as well. So huwa, present tense, it'd be yatlu. So remember, it maintains the u sound, so he is reciting or following. And huma, the present tense, yatluwani, both of them are reciting. Men, hum, present tense, yatluna, they are all reciting. And then hiya version, present tense, tatlu, she is reciting. Huma, tatluwani, both of them women are reciting. Hunna, So they all women are reciting yatluna. And then present tense tatluna, anta version same as the hiya version, you are reciting man. Present tense antuma, both of you are reciting tatluwani. Antum, present tense tatluna, you all are reciting men and women. And anti, present tense tatlina, you are reciting women. Just you are reciting meaning a woman. And antuma version present tense tatluwani, both of you women are reciting. And then antunna, present tense tatluna, you all women are reciting. And then ana, present tense atlu, I am reciting. And nahnu, present tense natlu, we are reciting. So here we have a subfamily 2, fa'ala yaf'ilu, with the past and present tense. But this time in this chart, the first rula is fa, the second is ain, and the third will be ya. So the huwa version, past tense is fa'a, the present tense is yaf'i. So you can see it maintains the a and the e sound, fa'a yaf'i. And then huma, past tense fa'a ya, present tense yaf'i yani. Hum, past tense fa'o, so it makes the o sound instead of the typical u sound in the past hum. And present tense yaf'una. The hiya, past tense is fa'at, the present tense is taf'i. And huma, past tense fa'ata, and the present tense is taf'iyani. And huna, past tense fa'ina. And again you can see the third rula ya is the sukun, and the present tense yaf'ina. And the anta, so from then on, from the hunna onwards, for past tense it will always be fa'i, and something else added after. So anta, past tense fa'ita, present tense tafi, same as the hiya. Antuma, past tense fa'ituma, present tense tafiyani. And then antum, past tense fa'itum, present tense tafhuna. Anti, present tense fa'iti, and the past tense fa'iti, and the present tense is tafina. And then antuma, past tense fa'itum, and the present tense is tafiyani. And the antuna, past tense fa'itunna, and the present tense is tafina. Ana, past tense fa'itu, present tense afi. And nahnu, past tense fa'ina, and the present tense is nafi. And so we'll just go through an example for subfamily 2. So fa'ala yafilu, we'll be using the three root letters ra, mim, and ya. And again we'll do it differently. So we'll go through the past tense first, and then come back and go through the present tense. So the huwa past tense is rama, he threw, and the past tense for huma is rama ya. So the third root letter ya is back, both of them through. And then past tense ramau, so against the third root letter has been dropped, and then you have the o sound, they all through. Hiya, past tense ramat, third root letter has been dropped, she through. Huma, past tense ramata, both of them we went through. And then past tense, the third root letter comes back with a sukoon on it, hunna, ramaina, they all through. And then anta, past tense, the third root letter with a sukoon will be maintained throughout the chart now. Anta, ramaita, you through men, a man. Antuma, past tense ramaituma, both of you men through. Antum, past tense ramaitum, you all through. And then anti, past tense ramaiti, you through, woman. And antuma, past tense ramaituma, both of you women through. And antunna, all of you women through, ramaitunna. And then ana, past tense ramaitu, I through. And nahnu, past tense ramaina, we through. So we just go through the present tense as well. So huwa version, present tense the yarmi, so it maintains that e sound. He is throwing with the ya sukoon at the end. Huma, yarmiyani, you can see the third root letter ya is back, both of them are throwing men. Hum, present tense yarmuna, so the third root letter ya has been dropped, they are all throwing. Hiya, present tense tarmi. Huma, present tense tarmiyani, both of them are throwing women. Hunna, so they all women are throwing. Yarmina, so anta, you masculine, present tense tarmi, you are throwing, so same as the hiya version. Antuma, present tense tarmiyani, both of you men are throwing. And then antum, present tense tarmuna, you all are throwing. So the anti, present tense tarmina, you are throwing, woman. And antuma, present tense tarmiyani, both of you are throwing women. And then antunna, present tense tarmina, you are all throwing women. You notice that The antuna, the anti are the same. And then the ana, present tense armi, I am throwing. And then nahnu, present tense narmi, we are throwing. So as per usual, whenever we reach the end of a chapter, we always advise to keep an eye on the vocabulary chapter at the end of this book, become familiar with it, ideally review this ideally at the end of every session this curriculum is studied, so that your Arabic grammar knowledge increases with your vocab knowledge, inshallah.